are back to talk about this great topic. And in the line of empowering women through this kind of topics, the National Olympic Committee of Kenya has an objective in strategic plan of 2019-2024, which has core values which include equality, equity, and inclusivity. Now, there in these core values that they have, they will want to achieve three things. They will want to achieve advocating for a very good environment for women in sport. They will also want to advocate, or rather to bring out the supporting training of women technical staff to encourage greater participation of girls, as well as encouraging women to take part, to take up leadership and decision-making positions in sport. I am your host, Wanjiko Mwenda, and I cannot do this alone. I am joined by a strong team over here. I'm sure you have been seeing on our social media platforms the big names that we give you that will be tackling this hot topic for me. I am joined by Dr. Kizzi Shako right there. She is a forensic medical practitioner. That means a specialist in the forensic medicine world. She works with the Kenya Police as a surgeon there. She has experience in forensic medical examination of child abuse, sexual violence, and homicide cases. She's also the founder of Vunja Kimya Foundation, which she's going to be talking about it in the course of this webinar. Welcome on board, Dr. Kizzi. Yes, you'll unmute and say Karibu at some point, but it's okay. Dr. Karanja is also one of us. Goerge Karanja, specialist in sports and women's health, a medical doctor and a gynecologist. He is specialist in aspects of sports medicine. A key panelist that we are glad to have today. He is a member of the National Olympic Committee of Kenya's Medical Commission and involved in medical care of athletes, in training and competition of various national teams. Welcome on board, Dr. Karanja. Again, we do have our very own manager. We have seen him for decades right here. I've seen him since I got into the industry of sports. That is David Lungaho. He is a technical director at the Kenya Volleyball Federation, a former head coach for Malkia Strikers, having led this great team, the volleyball team, since 2004 to 2016. And with him at the receiver, he has very many trophies to show us of the great work that he has done. He has won gold medal in the Africa Cup of Nations in the 2005 to 2007, 2013 to 2013, 2011 and 2015 as well. He has also won gold medal in the African Club Championships, the Pipeline and Prisons, respectively, in different years from 2004 and till 2013 in different years over there. We're also planning to be joined by British Chepkoech, a very own champion, the reigning 3,000 meters steeplechase world champion and the current record holder over that distance. Due to technicalities and hitches and location differences, we couldn't have her online, but we have her talking about some of the questions that we sent out to her, and she will be answering them in the course of this webinar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the topic of the day. And I'm going to start with you, Dr. Karanja. You have been in this world of sports medicine for quite a while and helping most of our sports men and women. So what is the role of sports in sexual reproductive health and rights? Just to give us a kickstart to this topic. Doctor, unmute kindly from your side.
Thank you.
Yes. You unmute it again kindly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. The reproductive health and legal rights, I think I would start by defining what is reproductive health so that people we can be in the same page. Exactly. And I would quote the WHO, what it defines as reproductive rights. It defines them as basic rights of the couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing, and timing of their children, to have the information, means to do so, the right to attain the highest standards of sexual and reproductive health. They also include the right to make decision concerning reproductive, free of discrimination, coercion, and violence. That means somebody has to have, it's a whole spectrum, and all this encompasses about a woman. You know, most of the rights or the reproduction is, as we know, deals with women and athletics. And as you have said, that it's very important we understand what our athletes, or who they need to know or to understand what it is that is their rights. I don't know whether I've answered what you wanted me to ask.
It's all right. We are on the basis. Yes, you have. It is just showing us the rights that women do have when it comes to sports, because more often than not is when we just get them to the pitch and we do not explain anything to them. So basically, I think from that angle of medicine and even in health's perspective is which I want to bring out this question again to Dr. Kizzi. What is the relevance of this sexual reproductive health and rights before I cross over and bring in the sports angle from the manager, David Lungaho? What is the relevance of it to a woman, speaking from a woman's perspective? Dr. Kizzi.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been, I've worked a lot in the space where women are violated a lot. And one of the things that is clear in all spaces and industries is that very many times women and girls, even men, are completely unaware about their sexual rights, about sexual health, about reproductive health and what it entails. And many times this can land them in, they end up becoming vulnerable as a result. So it's important for especially women and girls to understand what it is that, what's going on with their bodies, what their rights are, what is supposed to happen and not supposed to happen, and how to go about reporting certain issues that may come about, knowing that they can always reach out for help, where to get help, and what, what constitutes things like abuse, for example. You'll be surprised many women don't know that they've been violated, which means that they're not able to even get the help they require. So that would be what would be relevant from a woman's perspective, understanding your rights and educating, self-awareness on, reproductive health and sexual health.
Okay, we will continue dissecting that as we continue in this webinar. But my question now goes to Manager David Lungaho, Technical Director. Coach, you have very many titles, Coach. But just to ask you a very simple question. You have been in charge of the women's team for years now. Do the coaching program offer training or some kind of education of sexual reproductive health and the rights of women in sports?
Thank you, Anjiko. It's very true. I've been with the ladies team for quite a long time, and I'm very happy because I've been successful, and I owe all my success to women. And it's true, in our training program, we always give ourselves time for education. Training itself in the first place is education, because it's about imparting new skills to develop our talents. But also, at times we take time to bring professionals to talk to our players regarding the topic you're talking about. And most of the time, our players don't understand these things, and especially when we have younger players in the team. So it's always in our program at the national team and also at clubs that whenever you prepare a training program, you should always have time for education like this topic. And I'm sure it has helped us out quite a lot and help us to maintain the players for a long time playing, understanding what is needed to them and what entails in them being successful. I'm very happy to talk about this today because I've not had an opportunity to discuss such a thing, but I'm sure some of the players or the girls that I've handled can bear me witness. I've been part and parcel of pushing for the women's rights in the team so that they may have their space and do what is legally right for them.
All right, very, very important point you bring out there, that you have had at least a chance to talk to your team, the Malkia Strikers. You have been also sometimes helping the men's coaching when it comes to Kenya prisons. But maybe will you explain to us the difference of handling a woman athlete in regards to reproductive health as compared to a man? Because more often than not, like I said, we will throw them to the pitch and expect them to perform just like the men are performing, without really understanding what exactly is going on in their body, because a woman's body can be quite complicated, and I'm sure Dr. Karanja will tell us that in a bit. So do you feel the difference?
Yeah, there's quite a huge difference, and more especially the last 1.5 years where I've been coaching men. After having been successful with women, I was second to the men by our institution to go and try and improve the standards of men. And I can confess that there is a huge difference when handling ladies and men. When you handle a ladies team, you have to be very careful. And what I normally do is try to understand the women and their body and what their body needs. Because most of the time you find during training, even during competition, we come to a point where some of the players are not in a position to play or train. So what do you do as a coach? That is when I bring my experience in, because in our team or in our setup, we always have senior players who are as coaches to talk to the players and give us, tell us what the players are feeling. And when I coach men, you see, for men or boys, coaching boys is quite different, because there's nothing in their bodies. You just give them a program to train, even for a week or two. They do the training without asking any questions, without anything. But for ladies, you'd always be prepared, and that's why you see in our ladies team we have quite a number of players, a huge number of players, because you don't know what to expect tomorrow. But we've learned with the time. Some of the players are very open to us as coaches. They tell us exactly what is happening, and we know how to handle it, especially when we are in training or in competition.
All right, thank you so much, Coach. I think it is very different when it is about a team sport, because you're dealing with very many women. They can feel there is some free space for them to open up. But what exactly happens to an individual sport like athletics? I bring in Kizzi Shako in a voice audio that she sent to us. Basically, my first question to her was, since becoming a professional athlete, has anybody or maybe the Federation of Athletics Kenya or her management, that is a global sports management, given her training of understanding her sexual reproductive health and the rights and she has as a sportswoman? Let us listen in.
Sometimes I do get painful menstrual flow, but I'm glad I have never been in the situation on a major competition. It's only on training, where I place the training on moderate level, hold through until I'm okay.
Okay, that was my second question to Beatrice. We will come back to the first question. She had answered whether or not she has gotten any kind of training from any person, from any federation or the management. But to her second question, she has answered saying, my question was, has she had painful menstrual flow ever, and has it affected her in the competition? Which she has answered, it has not happened to her in a major competition, Dr. Karanja. She has said it has not affected her in a major competition, but it has affected her during training. Let's get to that kind of a space, Dr. Karanja. How do we deal with painful menstrual flow in regards to sexual reproductive education to a woman as she prepares for major competition? Again, Doctor, you're mute on your side.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Yeah, I think the issues of menstrual period and menstrual issues for ladies, especially athletics, is a very major issues. You know, as you know, that ladies during menstrual times, there is a lot of stress. There is a lot of and apart from they expect to perform, to train, but yet they are undergoing a lot of stress. So And then again, complicated with that is that they cannot take any medicine. You know, there is that restrictions on what medicine you can give. So we usually advise coaches and ladies how to manage, or the best way to manage themselves, and especially now the personal hygiene, how to take things positively, remain positive, because as you know, as a lady, you also know that periods also has a lot of psychological effects. It is the way you perceive yourself. If you feel that you are not, like you have periods, you may not perform. So we encourage them and we tell them that this is a natural thing, that it can happen and it will happen, and they need to just, of course, protect themselves, take the medicine as we prescribe. And but the good thing is that most of the high athletes, most of them are menoric. That is, they don't have a lot of issues with periods, especially when they have been training a lot. So we don't see much of this, but we see this more in the younger ladies who are just starting, and who are especially teenagers, but luckily that most of our athletes are in the age group as they start. But the senior athletes, they are better. But the younger ones, we have a lot of challenges, and but the challenges more to do with even the coaches and others don't understand that these ladies are what they are going through.
Exactly.
And the ladies don't want to tell them what is happening. You know, nobody wants to say that I'm on my menses. So sometimes they confide with us, and then we may not be able to confide with the coaches, but we are able to somehow reassure them and take them through the times.
All right.
Yes.
I don't really think maybe a man will exactly understand what goes on, and it is understandable. We know that. So I'm going to bring in Dr. Kizzi on this one. As a woman, from your perspective, I'm sure you've gone through those moments when they're asking, I am preparing for a major competition, and when I count down my menstrual cycle, on this particular day that we are going to have a final, is a likelihood I will have my menses. How do I prepare towards that? What is your advice?
Well, the best person to handle that would be an obstetric gynecologist, or a sports medicine doctor, someone like Dr. Goerge Karanja. They're very well equipped to deal with such issues. And so besides reassuring them that it's, don't worry about it, one of the best places to target is the mind, because the mind has so much power over us. So as long as you're able to calm a person down, the athlete, let them know it's okay, it's a normal process, and that you can get help and walk them through the journey, then I believe that can work out best. But what I personally do is refer to an expert in that field to deal with it. Yeah.
All right. So we need experts to come on board to help us actually to plan accordingly towards major competitions. A case in scenario and an example of this. Yes. An example of this was the women's USA football team during the World Cup last year. One of the reasons they actually went to winning the trophy, they said, is that they had studied their menstrual cycle. Their doctors had come on board with them. They guided them accordingly on how to eat and what to do at a particular time. So before I bring in Dr. Karanja on how achievable is that within our major teams, I want to bring in manager David Lungaho. I'm sure during the span that you have worked with Malkia strikers since 2004 to 2016, at least once you've had to drop a player because of heavy menstrual flow, and they could not play in that competition. How do you go about it in reorganizing your team and even calming down your player?
Yeah, Angie, it's true. If I can recall myself, my mind back, there are some years that I had to drop somebody, especially when we're out of our country, because as I want to agree with what Dr. Karanja said, that most of the players who are affected are younger players. Most of the senior players are not really affected by this period. But I remember it was somewhere in 2005, and I had taken the team for the African Cup of Nations in Nigeria, which we won in Abuja. And that was the time I had one of my youngest players in the team. I don't think there's need to mention the name.
No.
Unfortunately, she was going through her periods, and it was very difficult for her to play. She didn't even want to leave the hotel to go to the gym. So we had to talk to her, and we left her back, and we went with less one player. For the goodness of the team, we managed to win. And this is something that we experience very many times, and more especially during trainings. And when you have so many young players in the team, you know, we've been bringing in younger players every year, and before they get used to talking to their coaches about the same, we need to have somebody in the team who is senior enough, a lady whom they can talk to. And we've been using some of our senior players to talk to the players. And when they grow older, they just see the coach as one of them, and they talk to me. They tell me exactly what is happening, and I can even try to help them and guide them. I'm not a professional in that field, but by staying with the players for a long time, at least I know how I can talk to them and keep them in the playing spirit. And within that time, they start playing well, even when they go through the same.
All right. Quickly, Dr. Karanja, I don't want us to keep on to spend so much time on this menstrual topic, but is there some advice you can give in regards to a program that can be used, especially for team sport or when we are towards a major competition, that can be used, or some advice that can be used by the managers as they prepare the women towards major competitions and how to go about their menstrual cycle?
Thank you. I think, yes, it is. You know, it starts with a preparation. Even before prepare, you have when you start, before going to the camp, you need to have the team psyched up, or and also have a session with them to take them through all what they anticipate to happen and what can happen, the challenges they can have. And so we encourage the team, the coaches and the team players to at least take through these prayers through all the, you know, as the coach has said, that it is something that they have seen it over and over again, and know that these problems will come. And these are young players who have never, maybe they are the first time they have come into a competition. Apart from the challenges of menstrual issues, they also have challenges of fear and unknown. You know, there are many complicated issues they have. And they, of course, everyone would expect them to perform well. So it's good for the team managers to have that in mind. Don't let them not be judgmental on players. Maybe a player was doing very well, yet now they see that he didn't seem to be doing well. They need to encourage them. They need to, of course, plan their training well, knowing that, and if possible, even understand their cycles so that they can plan their trainings and competition when they are free of those menstrual issues.
All right.
And also, yes.
Okay.
And also, also the diet. The diet plays a lot of role in keeping a lady in a good mood.
Okay. The diet, meaning we eat healthy, we don't junk a lot, we don't take too much sugar, or? Okay.
Yes, the kind of food that they need to take.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Kizzi here. Let's cross over to the equality in representation and protecting the rights of women. You're very passionate about protecting the rights of a woman, and more often than not, like I said, we ignore, or subconsciously it just passes at the back of our minds. But how important is it to have a serious representation of the women, especially in a camp where it may be male dominated, but they have issues that they will want to talk about?
Okay, could you allow me to add something to the last topic?
Go ahead, feel free.
So I like what was said about, you know, diet and dealing with things like anxiety and everything in the athletes. Also, another major aspect I found is sleep, issues to do with getting enough rest and what exactly rest is. Because some people think, you know, playing video games all night is resting, and that's really not appropriate. So
True.
Yeah, so rest is also a very, sleep is an important aspect as well. And then as for equality, well, yes, definitely it's important to have proper representation of women as well in the sports arena. Also for the purposes of changing gender norms, what has been known to be the norm, and especially in a male-dominated field. It also goes a long way in motivating the younger ones, the younger females, the younger children, the youth in engaging more in sports activities, which, sports can actually change a lot of perspectives in very many other areas as well. And so for that reason, it is important for women to be more active in the sports area. I just think it needs a bit more understanding, better understanding of women's issues and complexities by the authorities in that area.
All right. Thank you so much. I think before we go into the rights and maybe some of how institutions should manage the code of conduct and all that, before we close down that topic of menstruation, somebody is asking, Rosemary Owino, she asks, what is your opinion on athletes taking pills to control their periods during competition due to the pains, discomfort, as well as its effects? I'm sure Dr. Karanja had mentioned that again. Maybe just a recap of that question, Dr. Karanja.
Yes, the pills, okay, pills can be taken as a family planning, but for controlling periods, I think it is not very good because they, as you know, they are hormones, and hormones have effect like water retention. They have bloating and other side effects that can actually, instead of improve, they can improve, yes, on menstrual flow, but then they bring other complications. So I would not advocate that that would be the best way to handle such a situation.
So what should we do? Just go without taking medication? Just
it is planning. You manage them from even as I said before they start training. You educate them. You manage their pains because you can be able to control menstrual pains. Without having to use with the right medicines. Yes.
Thank you so much, doctor. Another question comes in here is also very health related, so the doctors will be key on this one. I would like to ask if lifting weights is a risk to reproductive system of a woman. Wow, interesting. Throwing us to the other side of the coin. So in the process of, I'm sure there are those exercises that Coach Lungaho will give to the ladies to do some weightlifting, the leg exercises. If at all they're playing volleyball, they will need very strong legs. In the whole bit of weightlifting, is it a risk to reproductive system of a woman? Dr. Kizza, Dr. Karanja. Unmute kindly.
Okay, I can go first. Yes, we know that the commonest complications of in ladies, especially when they are engaged in high sports and impact sports, is incontinence. Sometimes most suffer from urinary and even stool incontinence. That is because of exerting a lot of their muscles. And these are things that happen fairly often, but unfortunately they are not reported, and they cause a lot of distress to these ladies. So that is true, and it has been I have seen quite a number, but we are able to manage. And but then we had the coaches and sports trainers need to know that these are problems that affect the ladies, especially the ladies.
All right, so Coach Lungaha will keep that in mind as they continue lifting the weights in the gym. Let's bring in this topic, and it has been a topic that we shy away to talk about, and this is where Dr. Kizzi and Coach Lungaha will come in handy. It's about how sometimes, because we assume women in sports will just go and train, we forget about their rights and protecting them from maybe the cases that we hear from camp. Or sijui my coach talked to me inappropriately, somebody touched me inappropriately, somebody did say this, approached me in a different angle. Before I bring in the voice of reason and the voice of how to protect our rights from Dr. Kizzi. Lungaho, Coach Lungaho, I'm sure this is something that has come to your attention. You have had some ladies come to complain to you about, I don't like how this man particularly is treating me in training or in camp. How do you go about it?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That particular thing happens so many times. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's something natural. Some of the players come forward to complain of being sometimes mishandled by other coaches or even other men players or any other person. So to me, as a coach, when I was still coaching Malkia strikers, I always have sessions with the players to talk to them, and sometimes we bring a professional to guide them on life skills and their rights as women. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I've encountered one or two cases through my career whereby players are really complaining hard of being manhandled by their men counterparts for sexual purposes. And me as a coach or as a father, I normally talk to them and tell them to continue with what they love to do, because this is the career path that they have chosen, and they should not let any other thing come in between them. One or two few cases that have seemed to be serious were also reported to our federation, and some action taken. And I think we as men coaches or men officials should really respect women as women for what they do and what they want to achieve, because I believe they have their rights in the society, and we should really respect them. And I think as a coach, I've really respected women. I've been in them for around 12, 13 years, and I respect everything they tell me. When even to a point that when the women or my players have issues with their maybe husbands, for those who are married or boyfriends, they come to me. I try to settle the issues. So for me as a person, I believe the women have a right, and when they're in your team and they're playing, support them in whatever they do, and they will also act as a protector to their rights.
All right. Thank you so much for that initiative and even taking it upon yourself to make sure that you listen to them. But we cannot hide from the fact that this is something that happens. And I'm going to coin this question to Dr. Kizzi, and it says, there's an anonymous attendee in this Zoom, and she's asking, or he is asking, what rights do women and girls have when being mishandled by a coach or a team manager? Mishandled here can also mean threatening to lose a job or a scholarship if they do not give in. What is the recourse? Dr. Kizzi.
Okay, so first I would just like to understand if, you know, when athletes are coming on board, is there a document or a contract or some kind of legally binding document that clearly outlines the relationship between maybe the coach or the organization and the athlete? And, you know, are these kinds of things captured there? Because then that would be grounds for, or may possibly provide grounds for using the law in some way to assist this athlete. Mm-hmm. Because any document signed is legally binding. And then the other thing, you know, like for children, mm-hmm. especially for children and women, there's a Children's Act that clearly defines what can and cannot be done with or for children, and how the manner in which a child can be assisted and by whom. And these, you know, I encourage everyone in every industry, every field to read certain documents, especially when you have a higher risk or there are environments that promote sexual harassment. So sexual harassment in the Sexual Offences Act would refer to harassment of a person by a person who's in authority. So such as a case, let's say a coach and the athlete, and the coach asking the athlete for any sexual favors, that's an example of sexual harassment. Okay. Or an adult and child relationship, you know, where there's someone older and younger and one is asking for sexual favors. So it's good to know things like your Children's Act, your Sexual Offences Act, because within those acts, it's very well stipulated on what kind of offense may be taking place, who can help, and what should be done. So, you know, that's something that everyone should familiarize themselves with.
All right.
And that's where the assistance would be coming from. Yes.
Okay, let's throw the spun into the wax over here. Names withheld, and this is in confidentiality. I have received, as a sports journalist, or we have covered stories of where the ladies will complain, I've had this problem with this trainer, I have had this problem with this coach or something like that. It is normal. I mean, it's not normal, but we have heard about it. So it is something going on. As of whether we have seen codes of conducts being followed, we are yet to see that. In some of the voice messages that I was getting, some of them will say, I have not had a sit down to be told what are my rules, what are my rights in doing this, and how to approach it. You have a foundation, Vunja Kimya. What exactly are we supposed to do in this kind of a scenario in regards to the sports fraternity? Dr. Kizzi.
Yes. So first of all, that's going back to our policy that's in place. One, it's very important to have policies in place that address certain issues, because you always have a reference point. You have something to go back to and refer to and say, this has not been done, and this should be done. So I'd like to know if there's any kind of policy touching on sexual and reproductive health rights of athletes in the sports arena. Is there something that says that any incoming athletes are supposed to go through this kind of orientation to understand their rights, to understand their reproductive cycles, to understand what happens in the face of abuse in case there's some kind of harassment or outright violation that takes place? All these need to be put in place. And if there isn't anything like that now, this should be done urgently. And I have found most times in most offices, there isn't anything like this to assist people to know what to do and where to go for assistance. And then in the event that something does happen, let's say there's a rape incident or a sexual, as in Kenya, sexual assault does not mean rape. It's a different offense. Let's say someone is touched inappropriately. What are they supposed to do then? If there's a rape incident, what should they do then? They should, the first thing to do is report it. It must be reported. And I know this is very difficult. It's very difficult for victims to report some of these incidents. It's humiliating. There's a lot of shame that comes along with it. But it's important to go ahead and do it. And reporting should be done at, let's use rape because it's the most complex of the whole batch of offenses and the most urgent one. It's an emergency. So report, the first place to go would be a medical facility, preferably a hospital, because once a rape incident occurs, the victim has to get medical care, post-rape care, as a matter of urgency to avoid transmission of infections, to address the psychological impact that has been experienced by the survivor. And then they also need forensic specimens to be collected. That is where the access to justice comes in. Now, whether if it's an adult, whether they decide to proceed with a court case or not, that, they can choose whether to drop it or not. But for children, this case must proceed. It has to proceed, and the perpetrators may or may not be identified and arrested, but the case has to proceed. After that, the police should be informed. So reporting should be done at a police station, but the best place to go first is the hospital because of the urgency in which these things have to be dealt with. And evidence must be collected. Because remember, with every passing minute, evidence is being lost. And evidence is body fluids, torn clothes, blood, and all that. And even just the mental status of the person, that being documented is evidentiary material. Then the next place would be the police station, because that's where it's the police who investigate crimes in the country, and sexual offense is a crime. So they would then write down the incident, what happened, issue an OB number, the occurrence book number, issue out a P3 form, which would then need to be filled out by a doctor. And then returned to the police for the case to proceed to the prosecution. So this is very important for people to know. And besides that, they must know what constitutes abuse. You know, if I'm touched, is it abuse? You know, what exactly constitutes abuse, so that they don't proceed to remain in a vulnerable state, not knowing what is right and what is wrong.
All right.
Yeah, so that's basically what Vunja Kimya Foundation really talks a lot about, to inform people, to educate people, because knowledge is power. You need to know what's happening around you and to you and how to respond to it.
All right, thank you very much for that. So the first thing, key points to know, you go to hospital. First, you have to speak out, then go to hospital and go to the police and make sure that you follow up on what happens. All right, let me just read in a text from Jeffrey Kimani. He is one of the strength and conditioning coaches that we have in this country. He says, from that strength and conditioning perspective, there needs to be good relationship and trust to the extent of sharing one's cycle. This enables the trainer to adjust the training plan and prescribe high intensity sessions prior to the menstrual time, then use the period's time as regeneration. All right, that's very interesting. This kind of manipulation of the training plan ensures that the athletes peak at the required times and the cycle does not become a hindrance. Some take notes over there, take home notes for Coach David Lungaho. I'm sure you knew this, but it's a constant reminder of what to do. Now, bringing you, Coach, on board again.
Maybe
now,
before Coach comes in, I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to comment on the sexual harassment.
Okay.
This is a very common issue, but unfortunately, it's done. The commonest people who harass the other is peers, and it's rarely reported. And Dr. said what he has said. Kizzi has said, yes, that's how it's supposed to be done, but it is a very complicated issue because, as you know, when it is being done by peers or it's done by people who are dependent, you are like a coach who actually is the one who determines whether you move on in the career, become very, very difficult. So what we encourage people, we encourage the athletes to do is, most of the times we are, as medical people, we are open. We one-on-one with the athletes. We want them to open up so that we can know if there is a case of an abuse. Then we can actually help them to move to see how they can be assisted. And we also would encourage that there is a screening for coaches and anybody who is involved in sport. If he has been involved in such issues before, then they should be brought forward so that to be preventive and to avoid such incidences. But they are fairly common. They are hidden. They are talked in low hashes. There are many ladies who have dropped out of competitions or athletics because of these problems. That's what I wanted to contribute. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It's just emphasis of how much this is important, and we need to give our girls, our ladies, the strength to speak out. That brings me to Coach David Lungaho. You have been here for quite a while, and I will say this over and over again until this webinar is done. And you, as a manager, how will you advise the institutions or the federations or different sporting bodies to create this kind of a platform to give this kind of education? Because you said you do it on a personal basis, maybe, but what will be your advice as a manager who deals with these women day in, day out? What should these federations and institutions do more to give us a better platform for the ladies to speak out?
Thank you. I think it's true. Some of these issues, we handle them at a very personal level.
Exactly.
We use our own experience to handle them. It is very important for our institution, by this I mean our sports federation, to create a platform for bringing in professionals who can speak about this to our players. I know there's a lot of things that are happening at the moment. And for the last, for example, the last 2 or 3 years, we've been having our federation working together with the anti-doping agency of Kenya to educate our players and our sports people on doping matters. I think the same should apply when we want to go forward to get professionals to come and speak about these issues. Because as our Dr. Karanja and also Dr. Kizzi said, we have so many cases of this nature that happen and go unreported, maybe because of fear or lack of knowledge. Because in many cases, our coaches, some of our coaches that we have, get into relationship with the players, maybe cause the players to stop or to end their careers of playing because of one reason or the other, and some of these cases just go unreported. It's very serious, and I think through education, if we insist on our institutions to bring in professionals to us, we should be in a better position to protect our players who have good talents and whom we depend on in the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach, for that. Now, I want to bring another huge topic to this webinar, the issue of early pregnancies. For the last 1 month, this has been the top story in Kenya of how, since the pandemic took us home and we were forced to stay home for quite some time, the number of early pregnancies has really escalated. Machakos being the key point here. 4,000 plus cases is what has been reported. So, Dr. Karanja, you have been in sports medicine for quite a while. How do you see this in the short term or even the long term affecting sports in the country? Because this is a generation that clearly will have to stay home and take care of their children. Early pregnancies problem here.
Thank you. Yes, there is a crisis at the moment of early pregnancy. Yes. Yeah. But as you know that it is, I think when you have so many young people holed up somewhere with a lot of energy, there is nothing to do, then you expect them, of course, they have to have such issues. But I think for me, what I would say is that we need to have, as a country, we need to embrace the issues of sports and how to make these young people, even if they are at home, they need to be engaged. Once you are engaged and you are active and you get tired, then you have no time for other, such issues like engaging in sexual activities. Mm-hmm. But as you asked, what I see going forward is that it is a big issue. Yes, we will lose a lot of young prospective athletes. Mm-hmm. But I think pregnancy is not the end. Even after pregnancy, people still come back. With good training, coaching, they still can make a generation of athletes. But I think we need to address this problem because it's a problem as a parents. And this high time we develop programs for the youth to engage themselves in sports.
Okay. Coach, you have been involved in talent nurturing from a high school level or even primary school level, scouting, as even we take part in the East Africa school games or the national school games. In particular, you will go to the eastern side, Kwantanze, you will go out there, you will get talent, you will see them. But right here is 4,000 cases of pregnancy, some of which will have been your major talent for you. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a very serious thing, and more especially when they talked of Machakos, because it's one of the areas that we really get players from. Played for the last 2-3 years, we've been getting from Machakos. Mm-hmm. Although we don't have the record straight, we are waiting to see if some of the talents that we had captured there have been affected. We hope not. And I'm sure, or I want to believe that our players or our school children out there have not been affected, because we've been to their teachers to try and talk to their parents to engage more in sports, because I believe when you engage the youth into sports, then they not have time to do these such things that they're doing. And a good example is that even me at my place here, we've been locked down for the last, I think, 4 months, but we always try to engage our young children here doing sport activities every evening, so that we see what they're doing and the talents that they have. So I want to believe that our talents are not going to be affected, because we have a good year ahead of us. We have the Olympics next year, and we also are thinking of getting younger players to the national team as early as January or February next year. So we are hopeful, and we pray that some of the pregnancies that we are hearing about, volleyballers are not in the mix.
We hope so. We really do hope so. Dr. Kizzi, this is a situation where maybe the Vunja Kimya can come in. And I don't know what Kimya we are vunjaing in this particular segment when it comes to early pregnancies, because maybe some of them are willingly done, but others are also out of rape. And I know you have tackled on that when it comes to the sportsmen, but generally on the sportswomen, but generally, what's your take on the early, the escalating cases of early pregnancies in regards to sport? You're mute, doctor.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'm very glad you brought this up, actually, and I like what Dr. has said, and even the coach, about keeping our teens busy, and that it actually is a crisis that needs to be tackled. I just want to add that for me, the term early pregnancies or teenage pregnancy kind of dilutes the severity of the issue somewhat, because it pushes this narrative that young girls are going out there to look for sexual partners. And I can tell you, in my line of work, the girls I've seen who are expectant, because I also support a home that is purely for pregnant teens, they were all defiled. It was defilement. It was sexual abuse by people close to them, their relatives, their fathers, their stepfathers, their, uncles, the neighbors, the border riders. So those are some of the allegations that come our way. So it's people who are much older than them and who have identified girls who are in a vulnerable position. Maybe they're poor and they need, they need food, they need basic things that a female needs just to get through, even sanitary towels. So it's good for us to, what I call it is sexually abused and impregnated children, because these are children who have been abused and became pregnant as a result. So that way we understand the dynamics that are really going on. And this has been a crisis for a long time. For a very long time. It's just that now people are paying attention. Yes, the numbers have gone up, but there's more attention and more people are listening to what's going on the ground. But it has been a crisis for a very long time. And this is what actually made me begin the foundation, because after a year working as a police surgeon, I was in a panic, because I was like, is anyone aware of what's going on in this country? I was seeing about 10 girls who are sexually abused in a day in just one county. And those are the ones who've made it past all the hurdles when reporting defilement cases. So it's a very serious issue. And this is why it's even more important for us to explain to the youth what exactly their sexual health and reproductive health rights are. What is this all about? And what can you do about it? And when, we need safe spaces where women and girls, especially because they make up 90% of victims or survivors. It's not that we are being discriminatory, but they are the majority of victims of sexual violence. So they need safe spaces where they can come and talk about these issues, whether it's a menstrual problem, whether it's an abuse problem, whether it's happening at home, whether it's a peer. Where are they? Is there a mechanism of reporting such an issue? Is there like an ombudsman, for example, in the Ministry of Sports? Is there, do they have numbers to call? Are they aware of the numbers that they can call, even if it's to make an anonymous report? It would be good to share some of these numbers with anyone who needs them. I'd be happy to share this information. There are also very many organizations besides Vunja Kimya that can help you walk through this journey so that you're not feeling alone. Because one thing that survivors feel is alone. They're alone, they are humiliated, they're embarrassed, and they are tempted to just drop everything and go back into their cocoon. So it's important for us to share such information with them. And sports reforms, so that's basically what I wanted to add.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm seeing in your comments coming in thick and fast. Some of you are just like, I'm following. Yes. Paul Movinja, you say you're following. Stephen Gatimo as well. Angela Luchivia says it's a great discussion. We really appreciate. Ruth Irene Kodoso says watching live from Nairobi. Really, really appreciate. And they say how much it's encouraging to get to this kind of education, and we appreciate that. So as we speak about the pregnancies, now I'm on a crossover from early pregnancies to just pregnancies in sports life, because women will have to take a break. Men don't have this break. They just continue, and your life continues as for 10 years. If you'll be running or you'll be playing volleyball, your life continues as it is. But what happens to women when they are planning to take a break at what particular time? There's a question that came in from Elias. He says, I'm curious, could the doctors on the panel kindly explain recovery after childbirth for elite athletes? Why do some recover and come back stronger and others completely fail to regain shape? For example, Helen Obiri, Vivian Chariot, Faith Chepngetich all came back stronger, while Chirinesh Dibaba and Meseret Difar from Ethiopia, both of them, never got their shape back, not just from track and field athletes, but also in volleyball and other sports. What's the science behind it, Dr. Karanja?
Well, I think to start with, giving birth is natural, and now women are expected to give birth at one time or the other. And it is, I would say that giving birth doesn't stop you from participating in daily activities or sports. But what happened is that some people, those who do well are the people who have already planned what they are planning. You know, like they want to plan to become pregnant, so they prepare. And then when they become pregnant, they walk through the journey of with the doctors and what exercise, because we encourage even pregnant athletes to have extent of some a lighter load of exercises, but they continue with the exercise towards that level. They are not able now to exercise anymore. And once they give birth, there's also there's need to come back as soon as they are, start exercising and gradually, and then pick up. And then, of course, with proper planning, they manage better. Because there are also those complications. Some women get complications during pregnancy that can put them off for a long time. Like maybe childbirth can be traumatic and have complications. But I believe that with proper planning and guidance and coaching, all those active and professional women should be back to their profession well.
Okay. It's very interesting. This I'm going to throw to Coach David Lungaho. How does this topic or discussion go about when a woman wants to take a maternity leave? Or do they just come back and then they tell you, Coach, kuna vile nikona mimba? Or do you have this kind of talks like, I will want to have my child at this particular year. Maybe this time we do not have very high or major competitions. Maybe when we are training for the World Grand Prix or the Olympics, I will come back stronger. Do you have this kind of conversations with your lady, with your teammates, not the team that you manage?
Yes, Wanjiko, I can confess that we do have such arrangements, not with all the players, because some players tend to do things their own way. We have quite a number of players who approach you as their manager and ask and tell you what do you have in place, because I feel like I need to start a family or to give birth. So you look at the calendar of international tournaments, and then you tell her between this period and this period, we are not going to be so much engaged, so you can try that time. So we share quite a lot in this. But on the same line, the other players who just do it their own way, they come to you, they even don't tell you. As you continue the training, you just notice that some of the exercises that you're doing, they're unable to do. So you start looking at them closely, and within no time, you find out that they're pregnant. We can stop players from getting pregnant. It's normal. is a good process, because most of the players who have gotten pregnant and went and gave birth, most of them in the volleyball family have come back very strongly. We have players who have even given birth to about 3 or 4 children, and they're still the strongest among the volleyballers that we currently have in the country. So for me, I can't stop a player from starting the family, but it's always good, and I always give them advice that when you want to start a family, so that you also not to jeopardize your career, please send you that to us, so that we can give you a planning on what you should do.
All right, that's a very interesting. The comments again, like I said, are coming in thick and fast, and I have one from Karian Noor. They say there's currently a helpline that has been introduced for sexual and domestic violence victims. The number is 0800 730 999. 0800 730 999. You report your sexual violence and domestic violence toll free from the Director of Community Policing, Gender and Children Protection. Hopefully they are quick to respond and help such victims. I think because of that topic, it is very touching, especially for Dr. Kizzi and the foundation that comes about from her. There's a question coming from Nelly Odera. She says, when girls and women report such cases, how can they be assured of their safety?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
So,
safety is a very good question, especially in this COVID era. One has to tread very carefully as to how they are going to make that report, especially if the perpetrator is with you in the house. You can't just go shouting and, you know, letting the whole world know what's going on, unless, you know, it has, you need, the survivor or victim needs to really sit carefully with a person to strategize on how to go about this. So yes, there are hotlines. There are several. There's 112, 999. You know, there are quite a number, and you know, like I said, I'm happy to share this. It's even they're available on the website and all the social media pages. But safety needs to be taken into account. So sometimes if you see that you're not safe, it's, you know, one of the self-defense, for example, one of the things I talk about a lot is self-defense for women, especially women and girls. Sometimes not saying anything can be protective to you until a time comes when you can actually let a person in authority or someone next to you know that you're in trouble and you need to be rescued.
okay.
So it's always good to think about how safe you are immediately. If you're, aside from COVID times, if you're not safe, then the best place to go would be a police station first, if you're able to get there. Or look for someone, even if it's through social media, and let them know that you're in trouble and you need help and this is where you are and you're not safe. Then people such as myself and others who I work very closely with will find a way to get to you in a manner that will not alert the perpetrator that you've let people know that you're in trouble. So it's, you know, it's something to think about, how to go about it.
Okay, so that means you need to be a bit strategic with how you approach it.
Yes.
You just don't go screaming about it. Just look for a particular strategy for your safety as well. You're protecting your safety before and after all that. It's a whole process, you say, right? All right.
Yes.
I'm going to give you, baby can be brought over. You can take care of the baby. You can hear the baby crying. It's fine. You can... It's allowed. It's allowed. It's your right, by the way. It's your right. So
yes, it is. Thank you.
you can go ahead. I have a comment here from Dr. Rudrapal Yadav. I think he's from India. Thank you very much for tuning in. You're saying how to create a positive atmosphere between young male and female athletes so that they can focus on their goal. I'll have both men, my panelists, both speak from a manager's view and from a team doctor, because Dr. Karanja, you have dealt with teams in various competitions, and Manager Longaho, this is your day-to-day job. So how do you create a positive atmosphere between young male and female athletes so they can focus to their goal? And then we will forget about early pregnancies in the process. Yes, doctor, go first. It's okay.
Thank you. I think from me, I feel that one is to recognize or to let the young people be young people and have equality, know that what a lady or a man can do, a lady can do. They don't treat them differently. Treat them with the same manner, offer them respect. Everyone wants to be respected. Everyone wants to be heard, and everyone wants to, to be guided. So we respect them, we guide them, and we, of course, all of them have opinions. Listen to them. You may not have to take what they are saying, but at least listen to what they have to say, and then encourage them and mentor them. Be a mentor to them, so that you can show them the right direction. Because of most of them, they are actually actors out of ignorance. So they have good intention, but they're ignorant. So once they are mentored in the right way, they actually they are very good. Young people are very good, and
they need guidance. Yes.
Yeah, they does need guidance.
Coach, your take?
Yes, I think it's through education, because what we have done on our side as volleyball coaches, I think we've been talking to our younger players. At some point, I even combine both young boys and young girls, and we speak to them about relationships, teach them on what relationship entails, and give them examples of existing players who have performed very well and gone very far and wide and managed to get life out of sports. So we give them a platform to speak to us, so we talk to them as their mentors and tell them exactly what happens in case they misbehave and go the wrong way. They are going to lose their talents, they are going to lose their jobs, and maybe they are not going to have a better future. So I think for us as managers, our work is straight. We have to talk to these people, to this age group. We have to encourage them and motivate them into being better sportsmen, instead of spoiling their lives through early relationships that have no way in their future.
Okay. All right. I have a question here, and I think again I will give Coach Lungaho and Dr. Goerge Karanja. The question again from Rosemary Owino. She asks, "What is your opinion into also taking time to educate men on how to treat women better, especially in sports?" Najua saa zingine mwanaume anasema si mimi ndio trainer wako, as in they will take the opportunity that they're on a higher level, like Dr. Kizzi said, they're on a higher authority. But how do you, in a lovely way, show them how to treat women in the sports fraternity? Coach?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. But,
just try to maneuver around it.
Yeah, but we talk as coaches. We have a commission, a coaches commission, a technical commission, and we keep talking to our coaches to try and protect the rights of women and girls in their teams or the players that they're bringing in. And at the same time, we talk to the boys, because as a coach, personally as a coach, I've been there for quite a long time, but I've not been held in any scandal. And we have some of the coaches whom we have been with along the way who have fallen apart because of these small scandals. So I think it's our responsibility as coaches to keep talking to our players and our other fellow coaches, not to engage in relationship with the players that they are coaching.
Okay. Dr. Karanja, your advice maybe?
My advice is, one, talking from a medical aspect, is that you know that men and women are different. Mm-hmm. The potentials are different. It is good to let them know, or let the ladies and men understand what they are able to do. What like if it's a competition, what a man can achieve. Mm-hmm. Maybe may not, because of physique, and not the lady may not be able to achieve that. It should not be a discriminatory. It's not because they are not able or not equal to the task, but it is because of their making. Also, there are some even injuries and all these that can occur more to ladies or more to men. Mm-hmm. But once you bring all those to the right, that and also the behavior of men and women are different. Of course, you know. So when you, I would say you keep on reminding or telling them that they are different and they should interact in at that level, but with harmony. You know, if somebody is maybe very emotional as a lady, then a man should also should not behave like that or assume this person is rude or this. They should understand these are maybe difficult time for the lady. And once they, and I think we concentrate more, especially to tell men about ladies, because men are very ignorant about issues of ladies.
Out. At least you said it. We did not say it. Dr. Kizzi and I did not say it, but we accept what you're saying and we acknowledge. So maybe as we start winding up, Dr. Kizzi, you know, this is a topic we can talk about for quite a long period of time. We can do this a whole day, but maybe as we start winding up, what is the role of the government and the society at large in maybe creating policies and regulations and in a way to show support to the rights of women in sports?
Well, actually, the answer is in your. Have I unmuted?
Yes.
The answer is the answer is in your question. You know, the role of the government in addressing these issues is basically to put together policies for that. And I know our government has a myriad of policies touching on women, you know, and human rights and all this, but it's important to have the right kind of policy document that can touch on specific matters such as this, what we are talking about today. It's very important for that. And the first step would be for us as society, you know, every one of us to task the government to do this. We need to start speaking out. Another thing I'd like to add is reporting incidents, not only abuse, but, you know, other things such as, like, do we collect data on how many women go through difficult menstrual cycles, for example, in a year? You know, that might be able to generate enough information to bring about positive changes in that industry. So we need to be able to collect information because that's what informs policy. We need to be able to gather data, analyze it for the purposes of informing policy and creating better spaces for our women and girls in the sports industry.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kizzi. Any parting shot, Dr. Karanja, followed by Coach Lungaho?
The parting shot is that I would say this field of athletics is a very interesting field. In our country, we are still developing and we still have a lot of challenges that need to be resolved, many issues. There are not many, like the policy issues are not well defined, and especially in terms of sexual abuse, what needs to be done, what not to be done. I think that needs to be strengthened. We need more education and more information for both athletes and even the managers, so that everyone can know what role to play and how to play it, so that we can have a strong team. And of course, use experts, because also another problem is that sometimes the athletes and the managers don't consult the experts in a particular field, and then they end up having many issues coming up, many injuries, many stressful condition that can be avoided if it was resolved earlier. So that would be my parting shot, that we need to work as a team.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Coach Lungaho, parting shots as we wind up now?
Yeah, on my part, I think we have to, first of all, appreciate women. As I said earlier, and I keep on repeating, I've been in for quite a long time, but most of it I've been dealing with women. And as Dr. Karanja is saying, is a question of policies and putting the policies in place for us to read and follow. And one thing that I'd tell Kenyans is we need very much to support women in whatever they're doing, because if you want to succeed, and that's what I can assure you, if you want to succeed in everything, then go the women's way. I owe all my success to women, because I played as a volleyball volleyball as a man in the national team, but I didn't have quite huge success. But the moment I shifted into coaching and I started working with women, then success came my way. So we need to support them in everything that they're doing and be behind them and work with them. Let us work as a team, and I'm sure that sports in Kenya through women is going to go a notch higher.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. Dr. Kizzi, you didn't give us your website. You said you promised to the viewers that we should have a website that we can get you through.
Yes, that would be, it's very easy, www.vunjakimia.com.
All right.
It's as simple as that, and it's, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, my panelists. It has been indeed a good session, and I believe even those who are following, the participants on Zoom, the followers on Facebook, wherever you are getting us from, all the messages coming in from India, from Egypt, from Nairobi, from across the country, we really, really appreciate that. Coach, let me see, has Coach Tamil Nadu from India. We do have Dr. Rudrapal as well. All those people that are coming in and sharing their thoughts, we really, really appreciate you. From the National Olympic Committee of Kenya as well for giving us this platform to talk about the rights, the reproductive health, sexual reproductive health and rights of women. Now we are brighter. Now we know, just like I said in the beginning, when you impact a woman, you help the entire society. I've been your host, Wanjiko Mwenda. Thank you very much for joining. Until the next time when we announce about our webinar, keep out on our lookout on our social media pages. We will be ready to listen and to teach you and to make sure that we give you the information that you need. Have a blessed night. Coach, doctor, and my panelists, just stay there for a minute, please. Tony, cue us when we are ready.
Yeah, just a few minutes. Just in case I'm coming back. I think we can start. It's no problem. We are good to go.
Okay. I think the chairman, Coach Felix Ochieng, will be briefing us.
Hey, Shiko,
remove my mask.
Sorry?
Yes.
You are enjoying yourself.
I was enjoying myself.
Hey,
on fire.
I was like, wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope my panelists enjoyed as well.
Because you made them excited about it. So
thank you.
That's true.
That was really nice.
I appreciate it.
I wanted to be you.
Oh, really?
Like next time, I'm the moderator.
Now, if you are me, who will give us all the information you've given us? I didn't have it.
Website.
But tunataka from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, so I think on behalf of everyone, because normally these things can go on for long and excited, just to say thank you very, very much, Dr. Kizzi and Dr. Karanja, for very informative, educative, and also provocative discussion that most people move away from. There was so much engagement, would have gone on. And obviously, thank you, Shiko, our moderator, and David as well, for your insights and your experiences. I think your experiences, knowledge, and skills and what you've done for the team, and now that you move to something else, is something that you will always live to remember. May you continue imparting that knowledge not only to your fellow coaches, but to the future athletes, especially within the women's space. Dr. Karanja, obviously you're within the sporting setup and you continue to serve. So we really thank you for those insights and opinion and open. Dr. Kizzi, obviously that was a nice touch with your bundle of joy during the conversation. I think it was very engaging. I think on behalf of NOC, before I allow the other people to speak, is obviously say, I mean, we look forward to creating discussions and partnerships and relationships and how we can put this agenda from today. One of the key roles of this particular committee was to ensure that there's a follow-up and relationships that are created from these particular discussions at NOC. And as Dr. Karanja said earlier, we become the point of pushing and formulating policy discussions and regulations and shouting out there and creating reporting lines and bringing the whole family together. So we'd like to say a very, very big thank you on behalf of the committee. Thoroughly enjoyed, thoroughly educative, and it's amazing and what we can do in providing opportunities for our girls to be better citizens, individuals, and performances. Asanteni sana. I'm sure many of my people over here would like to say a quick thank you before we allow you guys to go on to your evening. You've been absolutely great. So if anyone else wants to say anything before we dismiss our amazing guests today, please feel free to do so.
Yes, I think for me, it was a fantastic webinar, very engaging, a lot of questions, a lot of different, the audience was quite diverse and the questions were quite strong. So I felt that there's a lot in this topic that we need to unpack and continue to discuss along different areas. And a lot of things came up, like that toll-free number, which is fantastic. And those are the conversations we need to continue to have. So thank you very much, our panelists, for today. And thank you, Shiko, for really engaging them, because that really created the excitement and the engagement. So asanteni sana.